Alright, today we're going to learn how to re-eye one of Southwire's QWIKropes. To do so, we're going to need a couple of tools. First, we'll need a pair of scissors, a utility knife, a pair of pliers, preferably a long nose, a marker, tape, doesn't really matter what type, a tape measure, and then a piece of wire. It can be really any type of wire. It just needs to be flexible. This is 12 stranded. So to actually eye the rope, we start where the rope is damaged. This rope was just cut for this video, but ultimately you find the damage and you want to just cut back from the damage about where the rope starts going back to its normal diameter. So you'll see up here it's ripped apart and it's a little bit wider. If I come down to about here, it's right back to where it should be, and that's where we're going to want to cut it. It's a normal pair of scissors. You can do this with the utility knife too. I just find that the scissors are easier. The cut doesn't have to be real clean, but you do want it. The cleaner it is, the easier it is to actually do the work. Second, just want to grab some tape and just tape that eye off. It's because you're going to be working with the rope and it's going to want to come unspooled. So you're not actually doing anything. This tape serves no purpose other than keeping that head together. Once you've done that, you've got a clean rope to work with. You're going to grab a tape measure and you're going to want to measure 3 feet in on your rope. It doesn't have to be exact, so you can just work with any type of setup you got. And you're going to want to mark your rope there just with your Sharpie. Let's give it a real good mark. And that way you know what you're going to work with. The next part, you're going to go ahead and mark your eye, so how big you want your eye to be. I use about an 18-inch eye. That gives me a good size. You can really use any size you want. A little bit larger makes it a little bit more flexible when you're working in the conduit. But if you just want to eyeball it, you can eyeball it to what size you like. And then you're literally just going to mark it again. At that point you're done with your tape measure. You're actually going to start working on the rope itself. So you're going to want to take that end that you taped off and go to your first mark. And what you're going to do at your first mark is invert the rope. And the way you do that is you actually just split the rope and you try and get 6 strands. So you just count that out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually ended up with 7 here, so I'm just going to split that and you'll get a nice hole in there. And then you just shove your end through there and you invert it. And when you invert it, you can see that the strands actually flipped over on themselves and that hole is left there. Then you're going to go down to your next mark, which is the other end of your eye, and you're going to do the exact same thing. Just going to split it, and you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one actually split right down the middle. And I'm just going to take this eye and again go right through that hole, and you're going to have to feed that first one through. And you just work it so that it's inverted. You're going to want that to look as small as possible. The smaller and tighter that is, the better your eye is going to be when it's starting to feed in. If you have a large knot here, that's going to translate to a large eye in your end. It's just not going to be very appealing to look at, and it's going to be harder to get down into your conduit. Next thing you're going to need is you're going to want to grab your needle nose pliers, and you're going to go to that first inversion you made. That's the one that's 36 inches from the end of the rope, and you're going to go through that hole, and then you're going to want to grab the rope further down. I normally go about 40 inches from the end of the rope. That's about where I like to grab it. But anywhere further down the rope from the end of the eye really works. And I just like to work that hole a little bit larger again. And then just grab a hold of it. And you're just going to pull it back through that inversion. And the easiest way is to twist it up in there like that. Once you get it through, it actually pops right up. It's really easy to pull by hand. And what you're going to want to do is, it'll end up looking like this, but if you just roll that back over, you'll notice that the rope goes back to its original form. And you want to slide that all the way down until that second inverted spot goes up through the center of that rope. So what you'll end up looking like is this. You can see the first inversion's in my eye, and then the second inversion closes it. Alright, so once you've got that first inversion past that second inversion, we're going to go ahead and undo that second inversion. Now if you're looking at it, you're actually going to need, you're holding it straight on, you're actually going to need to go from the inside of that eye, and you're going to want to pull that through like this. So see if we can illustrate that. It's going to go up and through here. We're going to grab it like that, and we're just going to pull it through. Again, once you have it up through there, it's actually really easy to move by hand. And you're literally, at this point, just sliding those two inversions together so that they sit on top of each other. If you want to see that here closer, you just slide them down in. They interlock. This is the bottom of your eye. And it's, again, the tighter that is, the nicer that's going to be when you try and feed into the conduit. What you're left with is a rope that is wide. You still have your tail, and it is just kind of hanging out there, but you do have an actual eye in your rope. At this point, you need to feed this tail down into the center of this rope. And the way you want to start is if you actually split that Y, right from the base of the Y, you want to count down. Right from the base of the Y, you want to move down about 3 strands. So just count it out, 1, 2, 3. Again, it's not really an exact science. We do 3 strands just so that you can get a nice tight fit without a lot of slack rope. You're going to go ahead and mark that. After you're done marking that, you're going to want to take that piece of wire we spoke about. You'll notice here that I have folded this wire in half. The reason I have done that is I need this point so I can feed through the center. And I'm going to take these 2 ends here, and I'm actually just going to tape it right to my rope. And if you'll notice, I'll just split the 2 ends, put the rope in between it, and that way I just have something that allows me to pull through and work it through a little bit better than this rope. Again, I'm just going to take some tape and do this. It really isn't holding that much of a load, and that's why the tape doesn't matter. I use electrical tape just because it's what's handy. Doesn't matter if you tape all the way down, and it doesn't have to be a clean tape. This is all just going to be cut off in the end. So that's what mine typically looks like when I'm re-eyeing it. What you want to do next is you want to just go right into the center where you marked it. And the rope should just kind of open up for you and allow you to do that. A way to guarantee that it's going to open up is if you just take it and smush it like you would a Kellum basket. That allows the rope to kind of open up so that the outer fibers aren't in the way of the inner fibers. And it allows you to just work that strand right down the middle. Now you don't want it, you'll notice it will want to pop out. You don't want to do that. You just kind of want to make sure that it goes right down the heart of that rope. It takes a little bit of work to do it, but it's definitely something that's fairly quick and easy to do. And you're going to want to go far enough down the center of this rope that you can hide that whole tail of rope back into the heart of this rope. So it's going to take a little bit of work to do it, but as you continue to work the rope, you just use it like a Kellen basket. It is definitely a possible and easy task. And you can work that all the way down in. It's not going to hurt the rope if you go past where your eye is going to be, but it will make it more difficult if you don't go far enough for the eye. Now, you'll see that eventually this eye is actually going to start going into the center of this rope. And it's going to, because it's a little bit larger, it's going to take a little bit of working to do that. So just be aware of that. Just work it in there. Once it gets in, it's not a super difficult task to work it through, but it does take a little bit of working. One thing you're going to want to pay attention to is the rope fibers. You don't want the rope splitting and catching that head as you feed it through. You've got all of that rope that's just going to kind of want to catch on there, and you're literally, again, just working this like a Kellen basket all the way down and through. Once you fed that through your rope, you're actually able to just bunch it all up on there. And then you have your tail that's sticking out. At this point, you're going to want to go ahead and cut this tape off. Just for ease and quick here, I'm going to cut it. I'm just going to cut the rope behind the tape and discard that. So we're nice and quick here. In order to get the rope so that it comes down to a nice smooth eye, you're also going to want to trim this head. If you just suck this back up in there now, what you'll end up with is a sharp cutoff, which has a potential to snag. To trim this off really isn't that time consuming. It's fairly easy. What you want to do is you go right from the bottom of the rope, you want to just go up 2 strands, and you just want to mark those 2 strands, those next 2. Just grab them with Sharpie, go up 2, mark the next 2. Go up 2, mark the next 2. And then what you're going to do, you're just going to cut those with this pair of scissors right at the mark. So you just pull them out and snip them. Again, it's not really an exact science. You're just trying to trim down that head. At this point, the rope's already in a position to where it can hold its safe pulling load. So really what you're working on is just making it smaller, more aesthetically pleasing and easier to work with. So grab the next mark, just trim it down, and go up to your next mark. And you trim it down. You'll notice as you trim, each section's getting longer. that you're trimming off. That's because you're using different strands out of that 12 strand. Once you're done with that, you should end up with is a nice tight rat tail that goes down like that. It'll be nice and thin, easy to work with, and then you're literally just going to take your rope and you're going to massage it back over top. And once you're finished, you have a nice, clean, re-eyed rope.